If you keep having vendor problems, there's a good chance the vendor isn't the issue. The vendor system is about you, the person or the company hiring a vendor to help your business. This is part 2 of a 3-part series on building a vendor operating system that actually scales and it works because we've proven it again and again and again. In part 1, we shared the questions we ask every vendor before hiring or signing anything. The goal is simple: eliminate ambiguity early so performance, accountability, and exits are clear before those emotions get involved. Those questions work, but if you're here, it's time to go one level deeper. Vendor problems are often vendor problems, yes, but they're just as often caused by the company hiring the vendor. As CEOs and founders, that's us. And those issues usually start with the system the vendor's hired into. That means our businesses. Let's talk about that system and why the most important work happens before a single question's ever asked. Here's the hard truth. Many vendor problems don't even start with the vendors. They start with internal ambiguity and the hope that by hiring the right vendor, everything will magically fall into place. We hire a perfect vendor and everything is great. We have a new partner. They build something for us. They make a part. They provide a piece of software. They do a service. They do our social media. They do our email marketing, whatever it is. If you have rainbows and unicorns that you envision, make sure you're aligned. When expectations are unclear, success is subjective and ownership is fuzzy. Vendors don't create chaos, typically. They inherit it and then they have to operate inside it. So let's not do that to them. Let's set them up for success. Most teams think vendor management is about control. It isn't. It's about design. Vendors mirror the system you bring them into. Ooh, think about that one, right? If you don't clearly define what success looks like, vendors will get to define it for you, and you may have a misalignment from the start. If you don't name an owner on both sides of the agreement, accountability will drift and typically disappears. If you're uncomfortable discussing how and when both parties can exit the relationship, communication's already off to a weak start. Let's not do that. Vendors don't become more disciplined than the companies that hire them. That's incredibly rare. They reflect the operating system they're plugged into. So if you want excellence, you got to show them excellence on your side too. Then you can hold them to that standard. What you can't do is show them garbage and then hold them to a really high standard that you want them to operate within. This is why the same vendor can feel world-class to one company and disastrous to another. Here's an insight most teams miss. Chemistry isn't a strategy. A lot of bad vendor decisions get justified with phrases like, "They really get us," "We like them," or "They feel like a partner." Chemistry matters, yes, but chemistry without structure creates emotional debt. Gross. And when things go sideways, the absence of clarity forces someone to become the adult in the room, and it's almost never the vendor, right? We pay the bill, we got to be the adult in that situation. That's why the questions from part 1 aren't really about them. Yes, the questions reveal vendor quality, but more importantly, they expose whether you actually understand how your own business runs. Oh my God, brain exploded when we figured this out. I wish somebody wrote this manual, but you know what? Here it is, because I'm giving you ours. If you struggle to answer who owns the vendor, this is one person in your company, and their outcomes internally, how success will be measured, and whether both sides agree, what failure looks like early, or how and when you'd exit cleanly if needed, then the problem isn't the vendor relationship. It's internal misalignment at your own company. Don't do that. Vendors don't fail in a vacuum. Even great vendors will fail inside undefined systems. Strong companies make behavior obvious. The best vendor relationships don't rely on trust. They operate in environments where good behavior is rewarded automatically, bad behavior becomes visible early, outcomes are objective, and exits, if you need it, are clean and unemotional. We can part ways. We might even rehire you back at a later date. Whoa, wouldn't that be nice? We have actually done this. Shout out to our social media company. This doesn't make relationships colder. It makes them lighter and brighter from the start, and don't we all like that? When expectations are explicit, nobody has to guess, manage feelings, which I don't think anybody loves doing, or negotiate reality after the fact. Give me the gut check. Before we ever send questions to a vendor, ask ourselves one thing. If someone asked us these same questions about our company, would we be proud of our answers? We alluded to this in part 1. If the answer is no, that's not a reason to lower the bar. Let's not make that mistake. It's the signal to raise internal clarity first. The most effective vendor system doesn't just protect you from bad vendors, it forces you to become a better partner on your side. Woo, let's go. The questions in part 1 work because they force clarity, but clarity only works when the company asking the questions is willing to hold itself to the same standard. Makes sense, right? You wouldn't believe how many companies I have either bought or invested in or consulted for that don't do this. They blame the vendor. And first thing we do, we look at the company that hired the vendor. Did they do their part? If your internal ownership is vague, your success criteria are subjective, or your exit strategy, if needed, is uncomfortable to name, no vendor framework can save you. Remember, vendors don't fail in isolation. They fail inside undefined systems to your company. Next week in part 3, let's go, first 3-part series, we'll show you how this thinking becomes operational. How we move from managing vendors reactively to running a vendor operating system that reduces surprises, improves quality, and scales with your business. Clarity isn't just a filter, it's a management discipline. Why hire a vendor if you're not going to set them up to be successful? Come on, don't spend the money. Get excited for part 3. Let me know if this is helpful in the comments below. Talk soon.